Hello and welcome back to the channel Overland Italy. I'm Jay Butler, your host. Today is Sunday, February the 18th, 2024, and today we're going to be continuing our discussion on is this the best Land Rover Discovery 3 or 4 overlanding vehicle in the world. So today I have something very special that I'd like to share with you, in that I personally installed a permanently mounted diesel heater into my vehicle. Now there's a lot of videos out there on diesel heater construction, fabrication, installation, and they're very good. But I wanted the source of the fuel for the diesel heater to be connected directly to the vehicle's stock fuel tank. Diesel heaters in general don't consume a lot of fuel, but I don't know if there could be anything worse than having to wake up at, 4:30 in the morning, just freezing, shivering cold because this small container that you had for diesel fuel, ran out in the middle of the night. Because maybe you didn't top it off or something of that nature before you went to bed, right? So as long as the vehicle has fuel, and we have 186 liters worth, then I know that the diesel heater is gonna work throughout the night. Secondly, I also wanted to be, once I'm up in the rooftop tent, and I just want to turn the diesel heater on and get it going so I've got some hot air and a comfortable environment to work or sleep in, I just push a button and you have heat, right? There's no setup, there's no breakdown. About the only thing that I really have to do is once a month during the off season is turn the diesel heater on for about 20 minutes. Maybe 30, just kind of let it run and cycle to keep all of the fuel and things through it fresh. The diesel heater that I installed is an Eberspacher from Germany. It's a high altitude unit. The reason to have a diesel heater with a high elevation sensor or software inside of it is because it will better calibrate the air intake and the amount of fuel so that you're not getting that black soot. The engine isn't, the motor, the little diesel heater motor isn't working as hard, and there's a better ratio for your fuel and oxygen ratio as you go up in altitude. So I just also wanted to know that whether I'm at the beach or whether I'm up at altitude in the mountains, in the Swiss Alps or northern Italy or wherever, my adventures take me, that the equipment would be able to respond to that altitude accordingly. So that having been said, let me give you the tour of the permanently mounted diesel heater. Here we're in the rear of my vehicle on the passenger side, and inside this stainless steel and then powder coated box is the Eberspacher diesel heater. And what I did, this is not the normal exhaust that comes with the diesel heater. This stainless steel inside that is at least 3 times as thick as the cheesy kind of exhaust system. This is made specifically for boats, for indoor environments. So in a number of jurisdictions, what I did, this would be illegal. In a number of jurisdictions, for example, I learned in Germany that where the exhaust comes out right there, that has to immediately exit the vehicle. You cannot have this type of a configuration. So you have to be careful that the jurisdiction you're in would allow this. I wrapped it in a special high intensity heat wrap like you would have on a motorcycle exhaust. Then that was wrapped additionally with a heat absorbing metal padding and then the electrical tape on the outside of it just for abrasion resistance. So originally I had one that was much longer with a muffler, which I'm going to show you in a moment, but I didn't feel that it was necessary for this system. And then this was the tubing that came with it. Again, I wrapped it for heat insulation, then the metal wrapping on the exterior, and then several wrapping of your electrical tape, again for abrasion and just longevity. These clamps are pretty heavy duty. This would actually come off if I wanted it to, just pulling it, but it stays on there quite well. I just found that the zip ties just really didn't do a very good job. I needed something with a little bit more tension that wasn't going to come undone in time. And so that's also what I did with it leaving the vehicle. So also at both points where this exhaust tubing leaves the diesel heater and the vehicle, I used a very specialized silicone for engines, a high temperature silicone, so that there would be no gases escaping at those exit points. Otherwise you could die of carbon monoxide poisoning, which would not be a good day. Okay, so here we are on the outside of the vehicle on the passenger side. This is a 60 millimeter or 6 centimeter stainless steel flexible hose that I also had to, drill a hole in the bottom of the rooftop tent. But this stainless steel flexible tube was wrapped in a heat insulation, then wrapped in another layer of a flexible aluminum heat protector, and then wrapped again using electrical tape, 2 or 3 trips around it, just to give it some abrasion resistance and wear and tear. So this was honestly, it was a lot of time and energy to mount this, obviously, but once you've done it, it just saves you so much time and energy in the long run. Everything is just set up and ready to go for you, so that when you want heat, like I said, you literally just push a button and you're good to go. I also drilled a smaller hole. Anyway, this is also flexible stainless steel. There's no insulation, it's not needed, but I just wrapped it in electrical tape. It could have stayed, in the stainless steel open exposure, but it just drew too much attention to it. That's why I wrapped it in the electrical tape. And so it too, I drilled a hole up into the bottom of the rooftop tent. And this is for the cable. The remote control is not like a Bluetooth or anything, it's a physical cable. So this of course is for your hot air. And then this is for the cable that I'll show you in a moment that's mounted inside the rooftop tent, so that when I want to turn it on, it's just connected to the diesel heater. All right, coming into the vehicle, this is the front side of the diesel heater. And you can see I have the power line that's run, and that goes back over in there. There's an emergency switch, and it's connected to my 12 volt power. So that's what that cable is for right there. So the air intake is coming into the motor here, as well as here. So when the vehicle is shut, how are you going to be able to get fresh air in from the vehicle? All that I do is I will just crack the driver's side window because I have the little rain protectors. I'll just crack it 2 centimeters, half an inch, whatever, to allow fresh air to come in from the other side of the vehicle, because your exhaust is coming out and leaving right here. It's called your marmita, or your exhaust. And we don't want these fumes either coming up into the rooftop tent, which I'll show you how we very easily avoid fumes coming into the rooftop tent. But also we don't want that exhaust coming into the diesel heater through this opening or through this opening. We want that to be fresh air. And the box was mounted onto this side platform, and it's incredibly stable. I mean, it doesn't move at all, you know, because you're off-roading and things are bouncing around. I mean, this thing is, I can't even move it. It's incredibly stable. So this is the original tubing, flexible tubing that normally you would use externally. This is not appropriate for the outside of the vehicle. That's why I use that heavy duty gauge flexible stainless steel tubing for the outside. I did use this, however, on the inside. I wrapped it in with an insulation tape, high heat. It's almost padded, cushiony insulation tape, and then I wrapped that with an aluminum heat protector, and then that was covered with the electrical tape, several rounds of it. And this is what is on the inside of the vehicle, whereas the flexible stainless steel is on the outside for obvious reasons, for durability. Originally, when I installed the diesel heater, I had made this, well, modified it. I should say I didn't make it. This is for boats, right? So this is the muffler or exhaust system for a boat. The metal on this is, my best guess, it's not twice as thick. My best estimation would be it's 300%, 3 times thicker than that normal exhaust metal. It's robust. It really is. And then I wrap this in a white. It's the same type of heat wrapping that you would see on a motorcycle or on the inside of your vehicle where that exhaust is, if it's trying to protect other components around it from getting too hot. Then that was covered again with that aluminum high heat wrapping. And then on the outside of this was the electrical tape. By the time the heat reaches the electrical tape, it doesn't melt. You know, it's not like this electrical tape is going to melt or be in any danger. When this was running high heat for 30 minutes, my hands are sensitive to heat, to be honest with you. My hands are quite sensitive. But you were able to hold on to it. It's like, oh, okay, that's hot. But it wasn't like you would burn yourself, right? My wife cooking, and she sticks her hand in this hot water. I'm like, how do you do that? Like, I don't know why, but my hands are sensitive to heat. Cold, not so much, but heat, yes. So this was actually on the inside of the vehicle. It kind of snaked around, and you really couldn't hear anything at all. I mean, a very low decibel. I didn't have a decibel measuring device to say how quiet it was, but it was quiet. It was really quiet. But I took it out because I didn't feel that I needed it. I plan on using this in our Iveco VM90 underneath the vehicle externally for some additional, as a silencer, as a muffler. Worked quite well. It was actually really fun to build. But I will be using this in the future. This, I'll be showing you up top in the rooftop tent, is a thin layer of insulation that I personally installed these little snaps, right? Have a little device at my house for the snaps so that I could create an internal wall or lining for our Bush Company Alpha Rooftop Tent. Again, they're made in Australia and South Africa, but they're not really made for cold weather. And unlike the Hercules Rooftop Tent, it doesn't come with a stock winter liner, so I kind of made my own. The diesel heater is so powerful, it finishes at 30 degrees Celsius, and the space is so small, I almost don't even need those. But when it's sub-zero temperatures, it does make a difference. It really does help trap the heat in better. I had tried 2 or 3 things prior to installing the diesel heater. I had purchased several small ceramic heaters. They didn't work that well for me. They consumed a tremendous amount of energy, killed the battery, and they weren't that effective. Some people like them. Some people's rigs are different. They have a rooftop tent that's designed more for cold weather, whereas mine is not. You know, this is not a European, or it's more of a 3-season rooftop tent. It's not really designed for super cold snow weather quite like that. So others may fare better using a ceramic heater in their rooftop tent than I would, but it didn't work very well. I also then tried a NOLO, N-O-L-O, low energy consumption heater, traditional heater that's used in Norway and Sweden because it's always cold and you're trying to keep your house regulated without wasting a lot of energy. That also killed the battery within a matter of hours. And again, really wasn't very effective. You just, nothing really beats pumping hot air into your rooftop tent like a diesel heater. And I know that there are many of you out there who have probably tried and experimented with different things. And once you get the diesel heater going, you don't want to look back. It's so effective. It's like a little teepee up in there. I mean, you'll just be sweating. It's like, turn it off, turn it off, turn it down. Yeah, you're not cold. You're not cold. So from the diesel heater motor, we also ran a fuel line that comes down. We didn't have to drill through the flooring. There was an opening there. It was a space that was available that we then siliconed off. And the pump is protected. It's not going to get hit with anything under the vehicle. And then it was connected to the stock fuel tank. Now, this part, the fuel line, I was not comfortable installing that. I was like, oh, hell no. So I had that done professionally at a body shop. In fact, the same people who helped me to install the gull wings, this solid gull wing panel. So that was the one part of the entire installation that I did not do myself. I felt that would be quite foolish. I don't have the experience for that. And so having that assistance was greatly appreciated. This system, once it's installed, and it took me 2 or 3 months to really figure it out, the back and forth and, making mistakes. And for example, that tubing externally, the 6 centimeters or 60 millimeters of flexible tubing, I had started at 40. I didn't know. I had never installed a diesel heater. I'd never used one before. So I went from having never used a diesel heater to just jumping in and doing a rather complicated installation. And it kind of like choked out the motor, and it automatically turned off as a safety feature. And then I asked why, and they're like, you got to have a larger tube. And I was like, oh, that makes sense, So I just purchased a larger flexible tubing and it's worked perfectly. But I mean, those are your growing pains, right? You kind of learn as you go. Okay, so now that we're up into the rooftop tent, you can see right here, I move the mattress out of the way. I have an X-Ped pad underneath, and this kind of looks like a little chimney. Underneath, this is a solid stainless steel cylinder, heat wrapped again with that protective coating, the aluminum, and then an exterior wrapping of the electrical tape. So it just sits on there quite nicely. The X-Ped tent, X-Ped. Now if you'll notice, nothing has burned or melted. I've used it now for some time. No issues with, nothing. It's not like anything is going to get hot enough to create a fire or any type of, dangerous situation. But the heat just comes right up and into the rooftop tent. Now on this side, it's going to come up here, snakes along inside that zipper. And then I just mounted it right here. And you can see it's currently turned off. And so when I want to have heat in the tent, I literally just reach over, push a button, and turn it on. I don't know that it gets much better than that. At least for an SUV like this, it's worked out quite well. So. Now you might be wondering, since the exhaust is coming out the side of the vehicle, how is that, or why is that not coming into the rooftop tent? Because when I roll this down, one of the things that I did, give me 1 second here, I'm holding a camera and operating this with one hand. One of the things that I did is I put Velcro here on the exterior lining and then into the rooftop tent here, this soft fuzzy portion, so it doesn't irritate your skin, or your body as you're climbing in and out. And then the exterior just Velcros onto this, and it creates a really nice seal when it's all zippered and closed up. So when this exterior shell is zipped down, it's all sealed off, right? So you're not getting any fumes coming back into the tent from the exhaust. See, so you normally have an opening right there, and it just Velcros tight, and it creates a really nice seal. Not to mention, I also have a second enclosure, and this is also then zipped off as well. Then for the winter, see all of the snaps, and that goes all the way around up top. all the way around and down. So if I want some fresh air to come in, all I have to do is open up this side again on the other side of the vehicle. I can just crack this up here and get fresh air coming in this side. And there is just no risk at all of the exhaust on the other side of the vehicle coming in here. It's not like a vehicle exhaust. I mean, it's a small amount on the other side. So I can get some fresh air in here if I need to. Wow. Wow. So I hope the mic from my DJI is doing it justice. All you really hear is the sound of the air coming out and into the tent. You don't really hear the exhaust that much. It's just the pressure of the air coming through. It is quite warm in here, let me tell you. But it just makes for an amazing sleeping environment. So right now I set it 20 degrees Celsius. So I'm serious, I'm almost starting to break a sweat. Man, you're out when you're in here. But now you can start to hear the diesel heaters turning off. That's the normal sound. It's much softer now. The initial rush of air is going to be a little louder, a little stronger. Man, I got to turn it off. It is hot. That's incredible. Okay, it's off. So when you turn the device off, the motor will continue to run for a number of minutes and let the internal components cool down. Man, I don't know if you can see it. I mean, it is really warm in here. We've had a pretty mild winter, actually, here in southern Italy this year. Not so much up north, but down south, yes. So I hope you enjoyed this video on our permanently mounted diesel heater. I hope it gives you some great ideas and thoughts for your own rig. We really appreciate you joining us, subscribing to the channel, sharing it with your friends and family. It means a lot to small independent channels such as ourselves. Please be sure to join us next time as we cover the modified four-wheel drive capabilities of our vehicle. We look forward to seeing you again. Bye for now.